Good evening. I am hereby calling to order the June 10th, 2019 meeting of the Mayfield Heights City Council. May I have a roll call, please, Vicki?
Mr. Belstria?
Present.
Mr. DeJohn?
Here.
Mrs. Finney?
Here.
Mr. Mano?
Here.
Mrs. Sabetta?
Here.
Mrs. Snyder?
Here.
Mrs. Tressi? Here.
Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I'd like to welcome everyone this evening. Next is the approval of the minutes from the council meeting on May 29, 2019. I trust everyone had time to read them over. Is there a motion to approve the minutes from the council meeting on May 29, 2019? Moved by Mrs. Sabetta, seconded by Mr. Mano. Are there any suggested changes, amendments, or deletions to those minutes? Since there are no suggestions, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Abstain.
Anyone opposed? The ayes have it. The minutes are approved as written. Next on our agenda are correspondence and announcements. Does any member of council have any correspondence or announcements? Seeing none, we will return to reports of officers. We'll start with the mayor, Mayor DeSico.
Thank you, Madam President. Good evening. I just want to again give a reminder that the Lander Road resurfacing project will begin on Monday, June 17th. We appreciate your patience during this time. Once again, two-way traffic will be maintained. However, there may be times when traffic is limited to one lane, but in those cases, it will be controlled by a temporary light, a police officer, or a flagger. Keeping construction workers and residents safe is our top priority. Residents who have questions about the project can call the construction support number, which is 800-544-5768. Also complicating the traffic on Lander is a project to replace approximately 4,800 feet of natural gas pipe on Lander, Marnell, Mayflower, and Mayland. There will be approximately 76 services affected by the construction, and I believe that's going to be done in July. Completed, I should say. The Recreation Department and the Parks and Rec Commission met with Impact Group to discuss ideas and strategies designing the city park survey. Although I was unable to attend the meeting, I did see notes from the meeting and there was some great ideas exchanged. I look forward to learning specific needs and wants from our residents and keep an eye out for more information on the survey. On a sad note, I want to acknowledge the passing of former Councilman Ron Kabunski. Ron was very active in our community as a former Mayfield Heights firefighter, member of the Board of Zoning Appeals. He was on the Civil Service Commission and a city councilman. He also served as council president pro tem in 2010 and 2011. He was a member of the Knights of Columbus too. And I would please like to observe a moment of silence in Ron's memory. Thank you. Last but not least, I want to acknowledge Joe Fernaro, our service director, for his over 30 years of commitment to our city. Tonight is going to be Joe's last council meeting. Wish you all the best, Joe. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mayor. Joe, we want to just thank you so much. You've always been there for us. We'll be sad to see you go. Are there any questions for the mayor? Seeing none, we'll move to Director of Law, Mr. Murphy, who obviously forgot we had a meeting, so I hope no one has any questions for him. Next, Director of Finance, Mrs. Fagan.
I doubt he forgot. I'm kind of worried that he's not here.
Something's wrong here.
Thank you. I just wanted to mention that on tonight's agenda, we do have the tax budget. It's Resolution 2019-59. This is the beginning of the budget process for 2020 already. The purpose of the tax budget is to establish the need with the county. These are not actual numbers for the actual budget. The actual budget process will start in August and September this year, so we have that coming up and looking forward to it. The tax budget, it does require passage by July 15th and filing by July 19th. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Fagan. Does anyone have any questions for Mrs. Fagan? So we know if we don't pass this, we are coming back, Mrs. Teresi, in July. Next on our agenda are reports of committees, commissions, and boards. We'll start with the Building Committee. Mrs. Snyder.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have no report.
Thank you, Mrs. Snyder. Are there any questions for Mrs. Snyder? Seeing none, we'll move on to Finance and Audit Committee. Mrs. Sabetta.
Thank you, Madam President. No report.
Thank you, Mrs. Sabetta. Are there any questions for Mrs. Sabetta? Next, we'll move on to Legislative Committee. Mrs. Teresi.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I have no report.
Thank you, Mrs. Teresi. Are there any questions for Mrs. Teresi? Public Works and Service Committee. Mr. Balestria.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. We do have a meeting scheduled on Tuesday, June the 11th, this coming Tuesday at 5 p.m. in the council caucus room to further discuss our sidewalk program. The public is invited.
Thank you, Mr. Balestria. Are there any questions for Mr. Balestria? Next, we'll move on to Parks and Rec Committee. Mr. Mano.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. We had our first movie in the park this past Friday. We had approximately 120 join us to see Ralph Breaks the Internet on the movie truck from Promotion Digital. The pool was ready to open last Wednesday on the 5th, or 5 days after its scheduled opening. Now we're just waiting for good pool weather to kick in. Unity Days. Don't miss out on Unity Days, June 21st through the 23rd. On Friday, June 21st, Midway and activities will open at 5 p.m. and go till 11 p.m. The Doug Kaufman Band will be playing at the bocce courts. On the 22nd, Twist will be playing at the main tent, sponsored by Eastgate Shopping Center. On June 22nd, Midway and activities will open at 4 p.m. Yacht Rock Cleveland will be playing at the main tent at 6:30 p.m. Fireworks are at dusk, sponsored by Golden Gate Plaza. June 23rd, the parade will step off from the Greens of Lyndhurst Shopping Center at 1 o'clock. After the parade, join us in the park for Midway and activities until 7 p.m. Polka Pirates are playing at the main tent at 3:30 p.m. The grand prize drawing is at 7 p.m. Early bird wristbands will be on sale at City Hall and Drag a Pool after Wednesday, June 12th. Raffle tickets can be purchased at City Hall, Drag a Pool, or at the event all weekend. Books of 6 for $5. First prize will be $3,000 donated by DeSico and Son Funeral Home, Elk and Elk, Ganley Nissan, First Energy, Hillcrest Hospital, and Org Property. Second prize, $1,000, will be donated by State Industrial Products. Third prize, overnight stay at Glidden House and a bicycle, donated by Glidden House and Great Lakes Biking and the Shaughnessy family. We look forward to seeing you there. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mano. Are there any questions for Mr. Mano? Seeing none, we'll move on to Safety and Transportation. Mr. DeJohn.
Thank you, Madam President. So you all received a report or an email from Chief Bittner regarding license plate readers, and I assume that Mrs. Teresi discussed that the last meeting, and this is something that I definitely want to pursue to keep the bad guys out of our city. So we have currently 2 on Mayfield Road, and I hope to install all that Chief Bittner wants to install. And just one other thing, I did have a request from a resident to move our neighborhood watch meeting to a later time, whether it be on Tuesday or another day, so more people can attend. So I did email Chief Bittner about that change and to see if we can have that done. So, and also it is currently being live streamed, and just wanted to let the residents, those who don't know, that it is being live streamed at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. DeJohn. Are there any questions for Mr. DeJohn? Seeing none, we'll move on to Board of Zoning. Mrs. Sabetta.
Thank you, Madam President. The Board of Zoning will meet here in Council Chambers tomorrow at 7 p.m. There are several items on the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sabetta. Are there any questions for Mrs. Sabetta? Okay, we'll move on to Planning Commission. Mr. Balestria.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. The Planning Commission met last week. Council was copied on the minutes As a result, we have one motion on our agenda this evening, and we can discuss it at that time.
Thank you, Mr. Balestria. Are there any questions of Mr. Balestria? We will now come to the public portion of the meeting. Pursuant to City Code, each person will be allowed 5 minutes to speak, with a maximum of 30 minutes allowed for the entire public portion. Although it is not a time for public debate, this is your opportunity to address council with your concerns. Also, if you're here in connection with the BZA agenda item, this is your time to address the council also. If you would like to be heard this evening, please raise your hand, be recognized, approach the podium, and state your name and address. It is now 7:16. I will open up the public portion. Sir? You could go up to the microphone, please.
Hello, my name is Derek Hansen. I'm with Song One, otherwise known as Cedar Living. And we went to the Planning Commission last week. As you know, last year in April 2018, the council approved our assisted living, our small evidence-based group assisted living, 16 units, as being consistent with the uses of a U2A1 planned unit development. And so we, since that time, we've been under construction. You may have noticed it. Hopefully you guys like the building. I think it's beautiful.
Beautiful.
And we are now working towards the signage. And I know they went to the Planning Commission last weekend, or last week, and I know that under the 1162.03 in your codes, it says that we are meeting everything that's necessary within that with the 1191.02 for a permanent sign within that planned unit development. And so we are just seeking final approval for that.
Thank you. Anybody else like to be heard this evening? Mr. Finaro.
Name and address. Joe Finaro, 6154 Maysville Road. I'd like to say I'm grateful for the opportunity. I've worked here for the last 34 years. Retirement was a long, hard decision, but seemed necessary. I never thought I would leave. It's been a sad week. Thank you and the residents.
Thank you, Mr. Finaro. We appreciate it. Anybody else like to be heard this evening? Mr. Ward?
Sean Ward, Recreation Director, City of Mayfield Heights. I just want to thank Joe for all his time and dedication to the city. His time and dedication is unmatched. It is, and I hate to see him go. Had a lot of fun working with you, Joe, and just one of those things. It was great. Was a great employee for the city, and those type of people just aren't around anymore. So,
Thank you, Mr. Ward. I think we all agree. Anybody else like to be heard this evening? Seeing none, I will close the public portion at 7:19. We will start with resolution number 2019-59, and we don't have Mr. Murphy to read it, so I guess I will, do we have to read it? Should I just read it myself? Resolution 2019-59, a resolution adopting the alternate tax budget information format for the City of Mayfield Heights, State of Ohio, for the fiscal year 2020 and declaring an emergency. Is there a motion to suspend the rules?
Moved.
Moved by Mrs. Teresi, seconded by Mr. Mano. Roll call, please, on the motion to suspend.
Mr. Mano.
Yes.
Mr. Belstria.
Yes.
Mr. DeJohn.
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta.
Yes.
Mrs. Tressi.
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder.
Yes.
Mrs. Finney.
Yes. Is there a motion to approve? Moved by Mrs. Snyder, seconded by Mr. Balestria. I think we heard from Mrs. Fagan. Does anyone else have anything, any questions? Could I have a roll call, please, Vicky?
Mr. DeJohn?
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder?
Yes.
Mrs. Tressi?
Yes.
Mr. Belstria?
Yes.
Mr. Mano?
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta?
Yes.
Mrs. Finney?
Yes, Resolution 2019-59 has been adopted. Next on our agenda is Resolution 2019-60, a resolution accepting a bid for 3 uninterruptible power supply systems in accordance with the bid specifications and declaring an emergency. Signal Service Company. Is there a motion to suspend the rules? Moved by Mrs. Snyder, seconded by Mr. Balestria. Vicky, could I have a roll call, please, on the motion to suspend?
Mrs. Tressi?
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta?
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder?
Yes.
Mr. Mano?
Yes.
Mr. DeJohn?
Yes.
Mr. Belstria?
Yes.
Mrs. Finney?
Yes. Is there a motion to approve? Moved by Mr. Manos, seconded by Mrs. Sabetta. Discussion, Mr. Balestria, Mr. DeJohn, anything?
Nope.
Nope.
Further to add?
Anyone? Okay, can we have a roll call, please?
Mr. Belstria?
Yes.
Mrs. Tressi?
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta?
Yes.
Mr. DeJohn?
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder?
Yes.
Mr. Mano?
Yes.
Mrs. Finney?
Yes, Resolution 2019-60 has been adopted. Next on our agenda is Resolution 2019-61. A resolution approving and accepting the Mayfield Heights Connectivity Study, a Transportation for Livable Communities Initiative project, dated May 2019 and declaring an emergency. Is there a motion to suspend the rules?
Moved.
Moved by Mr. Manos, seconded by Mrs. Sabetta. Could we have a roll call, please, on the motion to suspend?
Mrs. Snyder?
Yes.
Mr. DeJohn?
Yes.
Mr. Mano?
Yes.
Mr. Belstria?
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta?
Yes.
Mrs. Tressi?
Yes.
Mrs. Finney?
Yes. Is there a motion to approve? Moved by Mrs. Snyder, seconded by Mrs. Sabetta. We had the council the whole meeting. Anyone else have anything to offer? Could we have a roll call, please?
Mrs. Sabetta?
Yes.
Mr. Mano?
Yes.
Mr. Belstria?
Yes.
Mrs. Tressi?
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder?
Yes.
Mr. DeJohn?
Yes.
Mrs. Finney?
Yes. Resolution 2019-61 has been adopted. Next on our agenda are ordinances. We'll start with ordinance 2019-15. Mr. Murphy. I'm Mr. Murphy. An ordinance amending Chapter 121 of the Codified Ordinances of the City entitled Council by amending Section 121.01. Do I have a motion to suspend the rules, please?
Move.
Moved by Mr. DeJohn, seconded by Mrs. Sabetta. Could I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Mano?
Yes.
Mr. Belstria?
Yes.
Mr. DeJohn?
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta?
Yes.
Mrs. Tressi?
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder?
Yes.
Mrs. Finney?
Yes. Is there a motion to approve?
Move.
Moved by Mr. DeJohn, seconded by Mrs. Teresi. Discussion, Mr. DeJohn?
Yes, I wrote this ordinance, or had Mr. Murphy write this ordinance, so we had a set schedule for council meetings that fall on holidays and those for summer session. So this way we can plan a little bit better our schedule. If you remember the last council meeting, I had to work that night and I couldn't be here and was a little upset that I was the only one not here at that meeting because of a work situation. So this way now we can all plan and a little far in advance so we can make sure we're at these council meetings.
Thank you, Mr. DeJohn. We have a roll call, please, Vicky.
Mr. DeJohn?
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder?
Yes.
Mrs. Tressi?
Yes.
Mr. Belstria?
Yes.
Mr. Mano?
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta?
Yes.
Mrs. Finney?
Yes, ordinance number 2019-15 has been adopted. Next, we need a motion to add to our agenda ordinance 2019-16. Can I have a motion? Moved by Mrs. Sabetta, seconded by Mrs. Snyder. Can I have a roll call, please?
Mrs. Tressi?
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta?
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder?
Yes.
Mr. Mano?
Yes.
Mr. DeJohn?
Yes.
Mr. Belstria?
Yes.
Mrs. Finney?
Yes. Do I have a motion to approve? Moved by Mrs. Sabetta, seconded, oh, I'm sorry, I forgot to suspend. Suspend, Mrs. Sabetta, Mr. Mano. Can I have a roll call, please, on the motion to suspend?
Mr. Belstria?
Yes.
Mrs. Tressi?
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta?
Yes.
Mr. DeJohn?
Yes.
Mrs. Snyder?
Yes.
Mr. Mano?
Yes.
Mrs. Finney?
Yes, is there a motion to approve? Moved by Mr. DeJohn, second by Mrs. Snyder. Discussion, Mayor, I know we added this on because we, basically had to receive the grant money, correct?
Correct.
But we didn't read this, did we? We forgot to read it.
Oh, you didn't read it? No, you
We
didn't.
didn't. Okay. An ordinance authorizing all actions necessary to continue to accept Northeast Ohio Public Energy Council, NOPEC, powering our community grants and declaring an emergency.
Right.
Any discussion? Roll call, please, Vicky.
Mrs. Snyder?
Yes.
Mr. DeJohn?
Yes.
Mr. Mano?
Yes.
Mr. Belstra?
Yes.
Mrs. Savetta?
Yes.
Mrs. Teresi?
Yes.
Mrs. Finney?
Yes. Ordinance 2019-16 has been adopted. Okay, now we're back on track here. We're to motions, and we have two motions this evening. We'll start with motion A. To confirm the decision of the Planning Commission approving a monument sign for Cedar Living Song 1, which identifies the name of the residential assisted living facility at 30091 Cedar Road. Could I have a motion to suspend the rules, please? Moved by Mrs. Teresi, seconded by Mr. Mano. Could I have a roll call, please? Oh, I'm sorry, this is a motion. Okay, could I have a motion to approve? I'm sorry. Moved by Mrs. Snyder, seconded by Mr. Mano. Okay, discussion, Mr. Balestria.
You heard from the applicant, and council, as I said, was copied on the minutes. The monument sign meets all the requirements of the city, so they came to the planning commission, and it was a unanimous approval.
Thank you, Mr. Balestria. Mr. John?
So I have one question. These are the same owners that own the facility on Sam Center Road across from Knollwood Cemetery. And I noticed that they don't have a sign there, so why do they need a sign on Cedar and Lander and not on 91?
Sir, would you like to come up and address that?
Because we had a variance when we had the house built in a residential area to not have the sign.
Thank you. Anyone else? Mrs. Teresi?
I think building on the corner of Cedar and Lander is just beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
Coming along very nicely. It's really going to be very attractive on that corner.
Yeah, it's gonna be very nice. We finally got rid of the lake, so that's good.
Took a while.
Yeah, it took too long.
Anybody else? Okay, can we have a roll call? Oh, I'm sorry. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion A has been granted. Next will be motion B. To authorize the sales of various fire equipment through government deals, SCBA, MSA, Firehawk packs, spare tanks, and masks. Is there a motion to approve?
Move.
Moved by Mr. Balestria, second by Mrs. Teresi. Discussion. Anybody? Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion B has been adopted. Is there any new business or comments from council?
Got
See.
one more motion.
I don't have that. C, it's on the back. No, I didn't get that on mine. Okay, C, to authorize the sale of a vehicle through government deals, fire engine 1989 Pierce Aero VIN, 1P9CA 02D 2KA 400285. Is there a motion to approve? Moved by Mrs. Teresi, second by Mr. Balestria. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And motion B is adopted. Now, is there any new business or comments from council? Mrs. Teresi?
I just have a question, probably for the mayor, I guess. Any news on the wall being repaired at, that has come down at Golden Gate?
No, I've not heard. I've not heard when they're gonna fix it, no. I'll inquire for you if you'd like.
Yeah, if you would.
Yep.
I've had those residents contact me about the wall being down and people coming through the back under the caution tape, so just so I have some response.
Any other questions, comments? Seeing none, do I have a motion to adjourn? Moved by Mrs. Sabetta, seconded by Mr. DeJohn. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are now adjourned. Thank you for joining us this evening.